let's bring up the resources. We are watching from theory perspective, which is actually not right. We need to watch from the other team's perspective to have the colors okay. So maybe from macro zergs. So yeah, macro zerg also got fallen here, which means the whole team of Polska Husaria has fallens. So they have 3 fallens. The other team has 1 fallen and double empire. Here we have macro zerg in the bottom right corner. His first ally is right above him, Ferus, and then Fenrir on the top. So this right side is one team, and on the left we have the second team, Soulskeeper, in the bottom left corner, Fiorix in the middle, and the last member of the Spies Girls team, Enya, in the top left corner. So yeah, Fenrir is going for like a slight front base, Ferus making a deformer here, but maybe now actually deciding to go for expansion because he realized that he's in the middle. And then we have macro zerg here, going somewhere with his summoner. Seems like he's going for expansion as well, on surface. And here we have Soulskeeper right next to him going for a front base, so probably just some fast spitters, or stingers rather. So he might potentially rush macro zerg. We'll see how that will turn out. Fiorix is just building at his home, quick barracks and farm. Nothing too interesting. And Enya is going for a front base with double barracks. So definitely also playing quite offensively there, while also preparing potentially for some expansion later. First already plays his expansion, and macro zerg as well, which means 2 expansions for the teams Polska Husaria, while the team Spice Girls doesn't have a single expansion yet. All of them are going for either front bases or Fiori just building in the back. Now going somewhere with the peasant, so potentially he will still go for expansion, but it will be definitely still later than the rest of the players. But he's in the middle, so it kinda makes sense to go for an expansion. Macro zerg is finally also making a front base after establishing his expansion. He also made a second summoner for that, so really preparing for everything here. Ferris also making his first hive after placing down the expansion. Fenrir already producing his first stingers. Soulskeeper also already has his hives, but he's not producing yet. He doesn't have any resources. He immediately spammed a third hive and also incubator, which will slow him down a little bit. Fenrir already in Enya's base with his stinger scout, but also Enya was in Fenrir's base with a peasant scout, so they both scouted each other. Fenrir will now even go for expansion maybe. He's already prepared with his summoner. Fiorix now building his expansion. Soulskeeper, I mean, he made this front base, he has the stingers here, but instead of actually pushing into macro zerg and potentially even killing him, or at least harassing really nicely there, he's just playing defensively. He's keeping his stingers at home, going for a tower. So that's definitely not too nice. Now we will just fall behind macro zerg, and I don't think that will be too effective. Enya kinda pushing Fenrir back. Fiorix accumulating some swordsmen at home, but not really bringing them anywhere yet. Ferris also has 2 stingers at home. Everyone playing pretty passively except Fenrir and Enya, who are just pushing each other back right now. We see just stinger and swordsman spam from both of them, but actually now Fenrir also going for expansion, so now it's 3 expansions for the right team against only 1 for the team on the left. But finally Soulskeeper also going potentially for some offensive push. He has a little bit more stingers than macro zerg, but he also has some stingers here, and he has 3 production buildings right next to the entrance. And behind that he's already building 2 lightning spires, so I don't think Soulskeeper will be actually pushing into that. We don't see any expansions in the underground for now. And Fenrir just holding each other there. Macro zerg actually squeezing through the front base of Soulskeeper with one of his stingers on 12 HP. Could have one-shot it. If there was one more shot by the lightning spot, he would be dead. But he managed to squeeze through, so now he will scout it here. But he'll probably just die to this tower. He won't even see the incubator. So he won't even know if there is maybe also a cocoon or soul's trap. But there is none of that. Berserk is now going for quite late incubator. We see that Ferris already has one. He's going for soul's trap and also 4 hives. It's definitely really interesting. And reinforcing his base here with a tower and 3rd hive. At the same time he's finishing his expansion now. Also Enya finally placing down his expansion, and also Soulskeeper. So now everyone will have 2 bases soon. but obviously keep in mind that that Ferus and Makrozerk placed it immediately, so they already have a nice resource lead, and you can also see it on the population. They are both ahead, over 40, everyone else is only around 30. But yeah, Ferus still staying pretty defensive, same Fiorix, so the players in the middle are not really relevant right now in terms of any danger. Fenrir actually going for some slight push now on Enya, but there is this strong front base and also decent amount of swordsmen behind it, so I don't think anything too interesting will be happening here. On the other side, we see actually Makrozerk going for a decent push with Stingers, but he probably just wants to check it here, so there is no underground expansion. I don't think he actually wants to push into this, especially now when Soulskeeper is also making some spitters there. Fenrir is also checking the expansion here, but I don't think anyone will want to actually follow him with the swordsmen. They are quite injured, so now when he finished his temple, he can go heal them. Fenrir will probably also want to go heal his Stingers on unholy ground. Soulskeeper and Makrozerk. Some Stinger skirmishes here. I think both of them were actually scouting each other's expansions in the underground. And actually seems like Makrozerk wants to take this expansion, but he lost this small fight between the Stingers. Soulskeeper could easily take him out, but nice, Makrozerk is going for another push. Now on the middle player, Fiorix. Fortunately there is too many swordsmen, he cannot push this. And if Soulskeeper can catch him on the way back, Makrozerk might as well just lose all of his Stingers, which would be pretty bad for him. Lost one, multiple other got damaged. Fiorix is now going out, okay, I'm not sure. Maybe Makrozerk will just have to go all around the underground. But he can outrun the swordsman, they don't have trailblazing yet. Maybe actually now he researched it, seemed like they sped up a little bit, but maybe not. So he's going for some catapults now. Ferus going to probably reinforce Makrozerk a little bit, because he was 1v2 there for a moment. Fenrir will now have 6 highs. And he's going for Valkekun as well, so probably wants to make some drops pretty soon. And Makrozerk also has some hive guards now, so he's going for air. Soulskeeper has only hive spitters, so he can protect against the guards, but he won't be able to catch them if they actually micromanage well. And if he actually goes, I mean Makrozerk on Fiorix, then he has a big problem, because... And also Fenrir is actually helping here Makrozerk, so this is a huge push. Not sure how Fenrir got here, he's pretty far away from here, but they are both here. Probably Ferus is also coming, so huge fallen push on Fiorix. He doesn't have a single anti-air unit, he has 2 towers here, but he doesn't have any Elf Rangers yet, and he also doesn't have the Elven Century. And even though he has Blacksmith, he's still only producing Swordsman. I guess he's betting on his allies, and he actually came with 1 Phoenix there, maybe even a second one. Ferus fighting in the underground a little bit with Soulskeeper. But also Enya is coming, so yeah, I think they will definitely easily repel this attack. Fiorix has strong defense here with the 2 towers, and at the same time Enya is slowly taking care of the air. Also Enya with his swordsman took out all the Ferus Stingers, and there is still Soulskeeper with a huge army in the underground coming behind that. So yeah, I don't think this will really work out, but fortunately for Makrozerk, he already has Flying Stingers, he researched the Metamorphosis upgrade. So he can at least escape with his Stingers. He could also drop here, but once again there is some towers. Fiorix is playing really well defensively. He's not spending his resources too well, but in terms of defense he's really well prepared. If he starts repairing this tower, maybe even fight with the peasants, he should be totally fine, especially when Enya is also assisting here with the swordsman. Soulskeeper also managed to drive back Ferus' army in the underground, so seems like they are doing pretty well. On the other side, Makrozerk is already preparing his expansion in the underground. He even has 2 towers here. He's already making his harvesters. Ferus is also placing another base there, so potentially they could have a little bit better macro. But if Fiorix actually starts using his resources really well, he will definitely be able to create some decent army pretty quickly. At the same time, Soulskeeper has now the strongest army on the map, and even though Enya is maybe a little bit behind, it's still Empire army, which is usually pretty strong, so I don't think this will be a problem for them. I think they are doing pretty good. Macrozerg swapping a little bit to different army composition. Right now to Spitters. Even though he probably still has his air army somewhere. I don't see him harassing anywhere. He just checked the underground expansion. The left team is still not placing any expansions anywhere. I'm just checking the messages really quickly. Yeah, there's White Defender. He's in a restaurant, so he can't really watch, but still he at least came to the stream. Ferris now with a huge air army, also Fenrir pushing against Enea, and at the same time Macrozerg trying to peek against Soulskeeper there, but he won't be able to do anything. Yeah, unfortunately Enea will probably lose the priests here. I think Ferris is trying to come there to assist a little bit, but I don't think it's really worth it. Actually, Enea will probably kill the Stingers on his own. Yeah, Soulskeeper will definitely take out Macrozerg's Spitters here, or at least force them back, but I think they will mostly die, even though Macrozerg is bringing more and more units from multiple sides. Yeah, he might be actually able to do something, but probably not. The air here from Ferris is still just flying around. Nothing too interesting. Yeah, it seems like Feorix is trying to connect the bases with his allies, because he has a catapult, so he can easily destroy the cherries, and then they will maybe try to push on the ground, just ignoring the underground passages. We'll also skip the defense there, so that would be really good, but yeah, as I said, Ferris has a really strong air army, and also Fenrir now has the Flying Stingers. And yeah, nicely stopping expansion of Fenrir. Unfortunately, Ferris already has an expansion as well, he just needs to make some harvesters there, and Macrozerg already has fully working expansion here, but now he's getting pressured pretty heavily, and he's also making some infrastructure there that I'm not sure he will be able to protect. There is none of his allies to actually help him. Fenrir is flying somewhere else, Ferris is in the underground on the other side of the map, and Macrozerg really doesn't have too many units to actually fight this. Maybe the towers could help him, also if he has a grasp on harvesters to maybe catch some of the Stingers, but it doesn't seem like that. More likes. But yeah, the towers will fall before Macrozerg even gets here. Also the harvesters, as I said, he didn't have grasp. And yeah, Macrozerg basically will probably lose this expansion. I don't think he can hold it even with the units, and even if he could, he would probably fall before he even gets here. But Fenrir is now doing a huge job with Stingers on Enea. So it's definitely gonna devastate it a lot. We can also see on the minimap Ferris is coming here with the flying units. I'm not sure what Feorix is doing, still probably just trying to get through the cherries. Yeah, now he's making another hole in the cherries into the Macrozerg's base. Macrozerg retreated a little bit, but now with Ferris guards, I think they can easily take out the whole army of Soulskeeper. At the same time, Fenrir definitely did some serious damage to Enea's base. Now he'll probably retreat, but it's a little bit too late. Maybe he'll lose his expansion, he doesn't have any towers there. Macrozerg's, I mean Soulskeeper's army is also basically dead. And to be honest, Feorix is still sitting on so many resources. He's basically letting his allies now fight 2v3, while he's just making holes in the trees. And he's not utilizing it at all. If he was making mages and other really strong things, many phoenixes, they have lots of air, he could be really valuable here, but for now he's only spamming some swordsmen, not even sending resources to his allies, so this is definitely a huge problem. Kinda leaving his team behind. Enea now lost all of his economy, both bases got heavily harassed, and Soulskeeper also lost his whole army now in the underground against both Soulskeeper and against both Macrozerg and Ferris in the 1v2 scenario in the Macrozerg's expansion, which was a nice push, but unfortunately when Ferris also came, it became a 1v2 and it was a little bit harder. Okay, now basically Ferris is the only one who has third base. Somehow working, not even fully. Macrozerg is trying to rebuild it, but no one else really has any bases now. Enea also needs to remake his bases on the surface, so that will also slow him down. You can see a Circle of Ancients here, he's spamming a ton of knights, but even with like 12 knights spammed in the barracks, he still has so many resources left. And obviously those won't be too effective when the fallen players are spamming Stingers, especially Fenrir here. And I'm trying to fight here a little bit, but he'll probably have to retreat. We'll see if Furies will come to help. Potentially from both sides, we'll see. But Macrozerg has so many spitters that the swordsman won't really do anything. You would need catapults, mages, steambirds, these kinds of units. Or even the knights, but then there would have to be no stingers. Since they are there, I don't think it will really work. At least if he had prayer and horse armor. But he's just getting that, so it will be too late. Keeper is not even coming, he doesn't have too much to contribute here. Ferris also has ton of resources, but Felix even more. And Ferris at least has decent amounts of population used. He now needs to make just a few more summoners. But yeah, we see Enya trying some final push here, but definitely falling behind quite a lot. Even the Phoenixes are now really hard to use because Macrozerg started making some stalkers to provide both defiles and also, of course, shooting the Phoenixes in the air. And there's a ton of stingers here, probably forgot about them. I guess they tried to make a push here, but that also didn't really work. Just more and more knights, obviously. Still pretty useless. I mean, everyone has surprising decent amount of gems. In terms of gold, Macrozerg and Fenrir and Soulskeeper are keeping it quite low. I guess Enya kinda half gave up now. I think he was also managing it quite well before, but Ferris has a little bit of a problem with spending resources, and Fiorix definitely needs to focus on this a lot. Yeah, now we see Ferris also making an expansion. Soulskeeper trying to, but doesn't seem too well. Yeah, actually, Soulskeeper is now trying to push here, but I don't even know if he has default to blind the towers. Probably not, so the stalkers are just totally useless there. If he positions well, he can probably push this even against the towers. But I don't think he'll be able to, especially Macrozerg is producing here heavily. He's also bringing his stalkers to blind the Soulskeeper's army. And yeah, you can see that now even Macrozerg has more units here. Well, this is the problem when you are not using your resources. I think that with the default speed it would be much better for those players, I mean the more casual ones. I don't think so. This doesn't have much to do with speed, to be honest. It will just make the game feel awkward for everyone else, but if you are not using the resources, even outside of intense moments in the game, then you wouldn't be using it anyways, even if the game was 2 times slower. But yeah, this definitely seems like it will be win for the team Polska Husaria, which is 1 point for them. Obviously Spies girls can still get their point against our team, but that will all depend on the next game. It does, because they have too many things to do when the game is quick and they don't have the capacity to create units because they are focusing on other things. Yeah, that's of course true if you are talking about a fight. If you are in a fight, then many players are not able to also create units during that. If I have also really intense micromanagement, big fights, I'm also not all the time creating units. But if you are just building one farm here for 30 seconds and not doing anything else, and you still have ton of resources and not spending it on anything, then it doesn't have to do anything with the speed. You just don't know that you should be spending the resources, or you don't know how you should be spending them, and those are just things you can learn. It doesn't have to do anything with the speed, it's just game knowledge. So definitely not true in terms of not spending resources when you are not fighting. But yeah, Ferris now also making a decent ground army, going to finish Enea probably here, which is like the last player that actually still has something in the Spies Girls team. I'm back for a second and my team is doing good. Proud of you. It's not your team anymore. Let's keep that straight. You abandoned them. So now Ferris has to carry them and he's doing pretty good, as you can see. He has the biggest army, the only one with full population. Same, actually more bases than Makrozerk now. So seems like the Fenrir is the weakest link here, but he's also doing really well. And yeah, it's few phoenixes, but I don't think he can do much. There is just too much air from so many Fallens. And yeah, he's finally going for mages, but it's a little bit too late. And also with so many stalkers, it will be quite hard to actually get the decrease off if he even actually researched it.
Upgrade complete, my lord. Our forces are under attack. We're under attack.
Going with population a bit there as well. Obviously it's GG already, but I guess he wants to have one more nice fight. Well, I disagree on that. I know that I need to spend the resources and many times I'm not doing that because I'm more focused on doing other things like managing villagers, moving army, watching around the map, what's going on and where. First of all, if you are not... It's a difference if you are not spending resources effectively, and sometimes you have 0 and sometimes you have, let's say, 1000, and then there is difference if you have constantly 3000 resources and you never spend them. That just means that you are not doing anything in the game with the resources, because that's just one thing you will do always if you know that you have to do it. It just cannot be affected by the game speed if it's 25 or 25, if it's 25 more or less %. It won't affect this. Maybe it is skill issue, but the speed is relevant in it. It's relevant during the fight, but if you have constantly 3000 resources, it just means that you are not spending it even if nothing is happening, and 25% slower game speed wouldn't help with that. Or even more. I know that Fight Defender has problem with this, with spending resources. Now we also saw that Fjorix had problem with that. But even if you play with them on lower speed, I'm 99% sure it will look exactly the same. More brutal with these players, we can have like 1k gold if they're not spending it effectively, but for these people it can be like 4k gold. Yeah, but I mean it's a problem, but it's a problem that they need to address by practicing it. Changing game speed really won't fix that. It's like obviously when I play with Suvak, for example, on 100% game speed, I have maybe 5% worse micromanagement in fights because it's a little bit quicker, and I have a little bit more resources because I'm not spending them as effectively. But it's not completely changing how I play, and it's 25% faster, and now I can't spend like anything. And yeah, so it definitely affects it, but it won't completely change how you play. And if you have such a big problem that you have so many resources, the problem is more than just the game speed. Also will fix it, but the difference between good and casual players would not be that big. I mean, it's an opinion, but it would make it definitely feel much worse for most of the players. I mean, just go watch some of the games from the first tournament or go play with 50 speed. It will feel extremely slow now when we are playing for such a long time with this speed. But yeah, let's get back to the tournament. First game, the winners are the Polska Husaria team. Here you have the results. So units 253 kills Enea actually, even though Enea's team lost. Definitely did really well here with the most kills. Unfortunately, Fioris on the other hand had a little bit less. And Soulskeeper was also behind the enemy team. So overall, pretty even, I would say actually. terms of losses, that's hard to compare obviously, since, for example, Fenrir was just spamming Stingers here, but definitely some decent kill ratios for Ferus, also Macrozerg, and of course Enya. In terms of researches, we see Ferus the most, 15, then Macrozerg 13. Everyone else, I mean Enya also quite a lot, the rest of the players pretty balanced, around 5, and in terms of resources, actually Macrozerg had the most resources in the end, but I think Ferus maybe had more during the game. Even though he set up his first underground expansion a little bit later than Macrozerg, so potentially that could have affected it a little bit. But they definitely both played really heavily on Macro. The third one was Fenrir, also their ally, and then the rest of the players from the other team. So yeah, nice game.